Again, welcome to the session. We're going to talk a little bit about SCORE and the history of SCORE and some of the services that we offer. This is really short and sweet because we just want to give mostly time for questions and to sort of answer any inquiries that you might have around what what the everyday looks like in our office. So this is just a quick intro to SCORE. SCORE stands for Scripps Communities of Resources and Empowerment. We have a team of technically 3 professional staff, myself as the director, and we have an assistant director, and we also have a position for an international student advisor who works specifically with international students, which I'll go over in a little bit. So SCORE was actually sort of officially founded 20 years ago. And so we're kind of here at our 20-year anniversary. We'll probably do some sort of celebration in the fall, which is really exciting. But it kind of was born out of a lot of student organizing, as well as support through folks like me who do this work around equity, diversity, and inclusion, and folks who really wanted to create a space for students to learn and grow and gather to talk about different issues related to historically marginalized communities. And obviously with Scripps being a historically and predominantly white institution, it's a space oftentimes that students of color gather, but it's really, as you'll see in the presentation, a space that is home for all students to learn and grow, and it's home specifically to students who might have intersecting marginalized identities, not just around race and ethnicity, but of course around gender, sexual orientation, class, generation status, many things. So SCORE works to build an inclusive community through social justice programming with an emphasis on intersectionality. So we never talk about one identity in isolation. We talk about a full range of identities and how those things are really compounded and impacted by multiple intersecting experiences. And so we never talk about race without talking about gender, without talking about class, without talking about ethnicity, right? And so we're really big on intersectionality. And we also provide leadership development opportunities, and we use a social justice framework to really think about the critical ways that we can create more inclusive and socially just communities and environments for folks who are often marginalized. So as I mentioned, I'm the director of SCORE. I use she, her pronouns. I've personally been at Scripps for almost 3 years, and we also have our assistant director currently, Elba Mandujano, who is going on her 2nd year. And she, in addition to serving as the assistant director, is also our coordinator for the First Generation College Student Program, which is a really wonderful resource for first-gen students to learn about Scripps, learn about college, and be in community with other folks who have similar backgrounds and experiences. Elba's position also is the direct advisor to all of our identity-based student organizations, which I'll share in a moment. So she really supports all of the programming efforts, all of the support that students need in terms of accessing resources, accessing space, all of that stuff to make sure that students are able to gather and create their own spaces and communities and programs for each other. Oftentimes our CLORGs, which stands for clubs and organizations, our CLORGs meet after hours, which are oftentimes when we're not in the office, but that tends to be when our students are able to really come together after classes and hang out in our living room space, which is really beautiful. It has a TV, couches, printer, computer lab. It has everything you need. And so it's a really beautiful space just to come and hang, even if you're not coming for anything specific. What's not listed on here is our international student advisor. That position is currently vacant, but we are also recently home to international students. That's really a new a new sort of thing that we have created room for international students, because we used to have an office that specifically worked with international students across the 5 colleges, but now we are the home for international students, specifically at Scripps. And so we're now welcoming a new international student advisor who's going to work really closely with those students, make sure that they have everything that they need. Also, we're going to, continue to put on really wonderful programs for them to be in community as well. So we also have a pre-orientation that we run in August for both international students and first-generation college students. And so that pre-orientation is led by Elba, who kind of focuses on first-gen students, and then it'll also be run by our international student advisor. And so those are really great programs that come out of our office. This is just a quick overview. And actually, before I go through that, I will just share here, this is a list of our identity-based student organizations. So we have all kinds of clubs here at Scripps. You can find anything that you want, whether it's at Scripps or across the 5 Cs, but all of the identity-based clubs are housed in our office. And so this is a list of the ones that are currently active. We have Asian American Sponsor Program, which has a really wonderful mentorship program that helps facilitate first year students along with upper class students who mentor throughout the year. We also have our Asian American Student Union. We have Blend, which is for our mixed race students. Café con Leche, which is for our Latinx students. Family, which is for our LGBTQ identified students. Kahila, which is for our Jewish identified students. Scripps International Community, which is obviously for our international students. Scripps Quest Scholars, which is for Questbridge, and then WATU, which is sort of like our Black Student Union. So these are all housed in our office. All of them mostly host their events and weekly meetings in our space. And we're just a big support for them. So they kind of are the face of our office in many ways. But back here, this is just a quick overview of some of the programs that have come out of our office over the last few years. And things are always evolving, so some things may look differently each year. But, again, we have a lot of support. So we have a student staff of about, it ranges between like 7 and 12 every year. But we do weekly social and study hours. This year, we had our international and first gen students really running those study hours. So people could just come in, have tea, coffee, relax, watch TV together, and also, of course, study and hang out, get support in that way. We also have an identity exploration series, which has kind of evolved over time, but we had peer educators who would sort of lead those workshops. Critical conversation series has kind of evolved over time as well, but that's just when we oftentimes will bring in like a guest speaker, faculty member, someone from another institution to come and talk about stuff. In the past, we had someone from Cal State Fullerton come in and talk, be our keynote for Black History Month. We actually have someone coming in to do a dance workshop for us during Women's History Month. And she is actually like an academic who does a lot of work around Latinx history and identity. And we've had all kinds of folks come in for that, which is really cool. We do have a student-run podcast series, which started during the pandemic. And so we have a staff member this year who kind of continued that, and she's going to continue it until she graduates to kind of document her experience going to college during the pandemic. We also have a partnership with Pomona Hope, which is a local community organization and we work with high school students to provide college prep. And it's a cool volunteer opportunity that we've kind of supported throughout the years. And then we have a zine, which is really just sort of like an art-based experience that our staff has facilitated over the years. And so we have a bunch of different journals and online and hard copy versions of zines where students showcase their artwork. So lastly, the last thing I kind of wanted to share was just that in addition to SCORE, which is, our local Scripps based Student Equity and Inclusion Center, we also have identity-based resources and support across the 5 Cs. So we are a home for all identities, but let's say that you really want to focus on one aspect of your identity. You typically have a space for that is run by an office that supports all of the colleges. And so we have CARE, which is at Claremont McKenna College, which is similar to SCORE in many ways. It's a home for all identities, but they also do a lot of work around social justice. There's also a diversity and inclusion office at Harvey Mudd as well, which does a range of different events and programs. But in addition, we have our Office of Black Student Affairs, Chicano Latino Student Affairs, Center for Asian American Students at Pitzer, as well as the ARC, which is our Asian American Resource Center at Pomona. We have chaplains, and we've actually just recently did a really great collaboration with our Jewish chaplain who works with Hillel. And then, of course, we have lots of mental health support across the colleges, and we've worked with counselors and folks to come in and do healing circles and support us when unfortunate, tragic, events happen in our country, that affect, marginalized communities. We oftentimes will sort of create a space so that students have support and to be in community, but also mental health and emotional support by a professional who can, facilitate that space. And then we have the Queer Resource Center, which is also situated at Pomona, but is a 5C resource, and our Empower Center, which is a really great resource that supports learning and development and support around sexual violence. So those are just the last little resources that I wanted to share, and I'll stop sharing my screen here. And I think we can actually stop recording. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. This is